Grace and peace. This is Coach Martin Wilson. Welcome to Life Class 2.0 Refocus Coaching. We're excited about being with you tonight. Please forgive us if you see me reaching at things. I'm actually working two computers here to make sure that I'm able to bring you this presentation, to be able to set it up to where it's going to be, I guess, entertaining, if you will. Tried my best to get it to air over Facebook Live. Could not get it to stream the way that I needed to. So I decided I would just come and just teach it here and just upload it. I do also still want you to go get my book, The Power of Our Choices, Choosing to Rethink Your Life by Coach Martin Wilson. This book is available on Amazon. So if you would, please go get that. Listen, I'm excited about this particular topic that we're teaching on tonight, reprogramming for success. There's a quote that says, if you don't program your mind, it will be programmed for you. And it's so important that we understand that, because every person, every single person has some kind of mental program that is governing their life on a subconscious level. Now, listen, upwards to 98% of that program has been given to us. Most of the time, we're infected with these programs even before we're at an age or at a place mentally where we can even choose whether we want that to be a part of who we are. And these programs are impressed upon us. They're impressed upon us. This information is passed on. Sometimes it's consciously, sometimes it's subconsciously. Sometimes people know what they're doing. Sometimes it's unknowingly passed on to us. And this information, it has the power to shape our perception, and it has the power to shape our character. How many remember the old 35 millimeter cameras like we have on the screen here? On those old cameras, what would happen was the lens would open. And when the lens would open, whatever was in front of the lens would be impressed upon the film. And the human mind is very impressible. And I hope I'm saying that right. Anything that the mind is exposed to has the potential of causing a lasting effect on the mind. And the main thing that this programming does is it suppresses who you really are. This is why thousands of people, literally thousands of people, are battling with identity crisis simply because they received a flawed information, flawed programming while they were children. Now, we've heard it as my mother always used to say it to me, that association brings about assimilation. And what that really means is association over long periods of time will always bring about assimilation, meaning that the person will take on certain characteristics and social ideologies and sociological characteristics of the group that they're exposed to. So we've got to really understand that. Even in animals, we see it. Animals begin to act like their owners. If the owner's lazy, the animal's lazy. If the owner is active, then the animal is active. So we begin to take on the characteristics because we're around them so much. Children will assimilate the character of their parents. Now, most of the time, they take they associate with one parent or the other, depending on the child. Now, some children, especially orphans and children that grow up in large families, they struggle. They're in a constant struggle to become, in a constant struggle of being told that you would be better if. You'd be better if you were more like your sister. You'd be better if you were more like your brother, more like your mother, more like the child next door. And these feelings are so strong that so many times This child is being pulled in so many different directions that they want to be anyone but who they are. Anyone but who they are. An aphorism. Now, what an aphorism is a general statement of truth. One of the oldest aphorisms that's somewhat even older than the sacred scriptures, it's by thousands of years old. It says, know thyself. Identity crisis is really nothing more than a person that hasn't had the chance to get to know themselves. They got to get to a place where they can get to know themselves without the interference of the mental chatter that comes on as a result of them being programmed and listening to the opinions of so many people. When people really tap into the gift of knowing who they are, they really get to a place of not just knowing themselves, but also understanding themselves. And there's a big difference between knowing yourself and understanding yourself. People that understand themselves, they're able to evaluate others a lot better. They give allowances for other people's weaknesses, and because they understand their own strengths and weaknesses, they can relate better with other people. Because you're in a place where you can acknowledge your strengths and weaknesses, then you also understand your limitations. Now, children are born with this desire to have what they want. And they know how to cry long enough till someone will find out what it is that they need. And to an extent, we've got to get back that childlike drive to press the envelope, not being whiny, not being petty, but pressing the envelope of persistence so that we can get the things that we desire out of life. The big question is, where did you lose it? Where did you lose that drive? That's a story. And the story is told about this little boy from a very, very young age, even almost a baby, would run out in the front yard and he would hug the tree in the front yard. He loved that tree. Every day he would go and he'd hug that tree and play with that tree and play under the tree. And as he got bigger, he began to try to climb the tree. And it was funny, his parents would laugh at him because he was too small. But as he grew older and grew older, he became a teenager. And he got old enough to where he was climbing the tree. One day, he climbed to the very top of the tree. And his mother ran out and said, "Come down out of that tree. You'll fall and you'll break your neck." And in that particular moment, she introduced fear. She introduced limitations. And the same thing has happened to us at some point in our lives. At some point in our lives, we were convinced and we bought into the lie of fear, lack, and limitations. We bought into the lie that there's not enough, that we can't have everything that we want, that there's not enough, that things will always be like this, that money is hard to come by, that there's some things that are too dangerous for us to try, that we're not smart enough, that our family has never done that, so we shouldn't even try. Even the lie that says only white people have those types of things and go those types of places and do those types of things. When I say we bought into the lie, I'm referring to being in a place to where we lack the mental resistance to resist the information of others. After all, it's got to be right. It was mom that told me. It was dad that told me that. It was my older brother that said it. It was my teacher. It was my uncle. It was my aunt. And we've been conditioned to believe just because the person is a perceived influence in our life, and when they speak, they have to be right. And unknowingly, a whole flawed belief system of fear, lack, and limitation is many times being introduced. But there's a key, and I want to give you this key tonight. The key to breaking old programming is to begin to ask questions. Begin to ask questions. You've got to ask questions. You've got to ask questions that will challenge what's being told. We can't, just because mama said it, just because daddy said it, we can't go with those patterns anymore. Not saying that they're wrong, not saying that they said anything intentionally wrong to guide us in the wrong direction. But you've got to begin to ask about the programming that is being given to you and the things that you've been taught. The key to it is to ask questions and to get the courage to ask questions. Is there really not enough? Or is that just a belief system that I gain from someone else's flawed belief system? Listen, there's a story about this family. They were having a dinner. And while the family was having their dinner, the little boy went in the kitchen and had seen his mom cutting the ends off the ham. She cut one end off the ham, and she cut another end off the ham, and she threw it away. And then she threw the other one away. And then she put the ham in the pan. The little boy immediately said, "Mom, that was good meat. Why did you cut the ends off the ham?" She said, "I don't know." Said, "Grandma always done it." So go ask Grandma. He went and asked Grandma. Said, "Grandma," said, "I was watching Mom. Mom cut the ends off the ham, then put the hams in the pan. She threw away whole big chunks of good meat. Why did she do that?" Grandma said, "I don't know. You'll have to ask great-grand," which was her mom. Said, "Because I always done it because I saw great-grand do it." She went and asked great-grand. Great-grand was taking a big glass of a big drink of water. And she asked her, said, "Great-grand said that Grandma said that she cut the ends off of her hams because she saw you do it. And Mama's cutting the ends off of her ham because she saw Grandma do it. But great-grand, why did you cut the ends off your ham?" She said, "I don't know why they did it. My pan wasn't big enough." The moral of the story is programming will cause you to repeat and do things the same way, never asking the question, why do you do it? You've got to get to the place to where you're willing to ask questions. Life for so many people is just like that story. They find themselves doing things just because it's the way it's always been done. That's programming. And the only way that the cycle of breaking out of this flawed belief can be broken is for you to be willing to ask questions. I wish somebody would say that with me tonight. You got to be willing to ask questions. You got to be willing to ask questions. This cycle has to be broken. And the only way that it can be broken is by asking questions. Is it really true? Does that truth that they're giving me have to be true in my reality? Does that have to happen to me just because it happened to them? Listen, nothing great would ever happen in the world if we didn't have people that were willing to press the envelope and ask questions. Listen, the Wright brothers, they told them it wasn't meant for men to fly. But they didn't listen. Columbus, they told him the world was flat, but he didn't believe them and discovered America. Never believe anything solely based on the fact that somebody told you that is true. You've got to get... I don't want to teach you to question people as if they're wrong, but you want to answer. You want to know why. You want to know why they do what they do. Listen, according to legend, and I'm closing with this, experts years ago believed that the human body simply could not and did not have the capacity to run a 4-minute mile. They said it was just too dangerous. It was impossible. And the runners at that time, they struggled with that idea. Just because the experts said it, it had to be right. And perhaps the human body couldn't reach those limits. After all, they're the experts. But on May the 6th, 1954, Roger Bernstein broke the 4-minute barrier, running the distance in 3.59 seconds. As part of his training, what he would do is he would visualize himself running a mile under 4 minutes. He would visualize it. He would see himself doing, being, and having the thing that he desired. It was a part of his training, part of his regimen, something that he did every single day. He chose to question the facts and not to adopt the ideology of the ones that call themselves experts. Now, as I close this tonight, I want you to ask yourself, what are some of the belief systems that you may be holding on to and have not questioned that could be hindering you? What areas in your life could you be so much further along in if you would just begin to ask yourself questions? Listen, and desire more. Sometimes there's things that even keep us from desiring more because of the way that we think. First of all, you are good enough. Some people have the belief that they're not good enough. I want to tell you tonight, you are good enough. You're good enough to have, do, and be whatever you desire to be. But if you believe that you're not, then that's going to be a hindrance. It's going to hinder your ability to move forward and for those things that you desire to ever be a part of your reality. When you believe that it is true for someone else, that doesn't affect you at all. It will never manifest in your life just because you believe it for someone else. Me believing that it will happen for you doesn't have any power in my reality. Only when I believe that it can happen for me am I released to go forward. My beliefs, my doubts, they govern the whole aspect of my life. Programming is introduced in the form of opinions. All opinions are not wrong. I want to say that. Some opinions are offered to us, and it gives us a better way of completing tasks and doing things. The opinions that you've got to be aware of are the ones that benefit the other person. When a person gives you an opinion and it only benefits them, you got to be careful of that particular. That's programming. You got to be careful of the opinions that give that person control and manipulation over you. That is programming. You got to be careful of the opinions that demand that you shrink away from your dream, shrink away from your goals, shrink away from your personal conviction, shrink away from being who you're called to be. Listen, I want to give you 4 things that will help you to begin to break some of that program. First of all, you got to identify the programming. Begin to identify the programming in your life that you want to break. Secondly, you build an affirmation that doesn't conflict. If you're tired of being broke, and this is just an example, if you're tired of being broke, you don't make an affirmation that says I am a millionaire. What do you say? You make an affirmation that says money flows to me easily and effortlessly every day. Those things that I desire are beginning to flow to me. That doesn't cause the mind to go on alert. And you begin to say that every day. And not only do you say it, the third thing, you got to visualize it. You got to see those things coming into reality. If you're a praying person, pray. And when you pray, the Bible said, whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them. In other words, see it as already being yours. That's the visualization part that a lot of times is left out of prayer. If you can't see it already being yours, then you'll never see it in your reality. The Bible says, whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them in the spirit realm, in that moment, in your visualization, see yourself have it. And then it says, and you shall have it, meaning the manifestation of it where it actually shows up in your reality. Listen, I hope that this lesson has been a blessing to you. I have truly enjoyed bringing it to you tonight. It's always a great opportunity that I don't take lightly to come and to share with you here these lessons. I believe that these lessons are going to take you out of that place of being stuck mentally so that you can be the most successful person that you can be. Again, I want you to go get my book, The Power of Our Choices, Choosing to Rethink Your Life. This book talks all about how that your choices have shaped your life. You're living in the residual of your choices, good, bad, and ugly. If you can change your choices that you're making, you can change the reality that you're going to see in front of you. I've enjoyed it tonight. Listen, keep joining us right here on Refocus Television Network for more great interviews, more great teaching of this sort. Until next time, I am Coach Martin Wilson. God bless.